Hello, good evening everyone. Well, the first thing to say is that I think you are very privileged to have this evening available to you. I was very badly advised at your stage that dance would cut off all my career options, and I also have found that it's opened up all sorts of possibilities for me. So I hope that this evening will inspire you of that. So my name's Hannah Lefeuvre, and I'm going to talk for the next 10 minutes, for the next 7 minutes actually, about being a practitioner in dance. So the first thing to say about being a practitioner is that every practitioner you meet will be very individual, and that is the beauty of being a practitioner. And you'll probably find that a lot of dance practitioners have quite a strong identity about them. And currently my identity is working particularly with children from the age of 0 to 5. So here's some example here from the sessions. So I've just selected a few things that I think would be appropriate for you at this particular point in your journey. I've realised that some of it might be covered by other speakers, so I'll try and skate through those parts that I think will be covered by others. So in terms of options for a practitioner, I would say that the main options that I've experienced are either working out in the community or and/or working in education. I know that education will be talked about later, but remember that community covers people not just in this country but all over the world. People need to move, people need to dance, so keep that in your minds. Am I moving? Yeah. Okay, sorry. There we go. And within these two strands, I think there are key areas of the community that we might feel drawn to. Obviously, we don't want to be putting people into boxes, but you may feel that you have a particular affinity with certain sectors of the community. But this is not to advocate that we put people into boxes like this, but it just gives you a bit of a sense of the sector. So we can work with anyone, obviously, from babyhood, even pre-birth, really. Right up until their later years. So obviously at the moment I'm very interested in the early years, but I've also spent quite a bit of time working with people in their latest years, and for me what's most interesting is those beginning and ends of life. I find they're very interesting stages to work with, and also I find quite a lot of resonance in the practice between those two particular age groups. And obviously, within those age groups, there are a whole range of people and identities, but there are certain traits that I find in those particular groupings that are interesting. So this is another area that you might feel particularly drawn to. I'm not sure if this is the politically correct phrase, but dance and disability work. This is not my particular area of specialism, so I'm going to run on from this quite quickly, but these are two companies that are quite prominent in terms of the performance work within this field. So what are your options then? So as I say, don't think that your options are limited. People all over the world need to move. This is a universal language that we're working with, and this is a real common misconception about dance careers, is that they will lead you just into performance or choreography or teaching. And there's a whole range of ways that you can apply your dance skills. Just see if, so we've got performance, choreography, teaching, community dance, notation. Do you know what that is? Have you done notation? You would have done notation, yeah. Administration and management, and that's been quite well covered already. You might be particularly interested in dance history, and you might also want to go into further training, as I have, if you want to go into postgraduate training and research as well. Dance on film, but there are so many more options out there. So in terms of developing your own pathway, it's nice to have some sort of focus, really. But be prepared for that focus to change. As I say, you might feel that as you're moving along your pathway, you feel particularly drawn to particular aspects of practice or projects. And I think perhaps that changes as your own life experience changes as well, because we're working with something very real here. And sometimes I think when you're going through particular stages, you may feel drawn to particular projects. So for me, I was very interested in bringing in my interest in different languages, international work. I've always worked with very small children. I've always had older people in my life. And I was also very interested in working with nature as well. So you will need to persevere and you will need to be prepared for knockbacks. But I would advise you to be proactive but not pushy, because I think this is quite a grounded sector that we're working in. So people will really recognise you if you're very proactive about taking up opportunities. But I wouldn't advocate pushing. I haven't had to myself, but I do really believe in you being proactive and taking up all opportunities that you can. And use your creative thinking, which you have, which is your biggest tool. That's a huge tool to really start to carve your own pathway. Alongside your own pathway, you might need to think about supplementing your dance work with other work in order to fund some of your dance work. But also that sometimes two fields can come together. If you have various skills, then you can start to apply those skills back into the dance sector. And think about your own unique selling point. And you don't really need to necessarily know this now, but you will find that starts to evolve. And as I say, most dance practitioners that you meet have quite a clear identity about themselves. And just remember, performing and teaching are not your only options. Although they are fabulous options, you have lots ahead of you. And take advantage of all training opportunities, so performances, classes. You are in a fantastic place to take up all those opportunities here and in some of the surrounding Somerset venues. Workshops, training. I'd highly recommend shadowing somebody, and if anybody wants to shadow me, I'd be more than happy to have you in classes, because I found that was the quickest way and the most real way of me learning about the practice was just to shadow somebody else. And as you go along, you might find that you start to adopt a mentor, and sometimes that can just happen naturally, or it might happen through any kind of schemes that are provided for you. But mentors are just worth their weight in gold in terms of helping to guide you along your pathway. So if you do have quiet periods in your work, use those periods carefully. Unfortunately, there are always things to be done when you're freelancing, so use that time to seek out new music, seek out training, organise your thoughts, planning, reflection, organise your accounts. That's a whole presentation in itself. Contact lists, taking up opportunities really. Because when those busy periods come, then you'll just need to be able to go with it. And it's not necessarily a career where there's going to be a consistent amount of work. You may find that there will be really, really busy periods and then really quiet periods. But during those quiet periods, it's really important to trust and just keep the faith, because the work will start to come back in if you're going through a quiet period. And when you're delivering sessions on the ground or any kind of practice that you're doing on the ground, I just think that quality is everything. No matter how experienced you get or how inexperienced you are, I just think quality is your biggest selling point really. I have found that planning equates to quality. And I wouldn't advocate things like leaving your planning to the last minute. Really take time over your planning, enjoy your planning. But also, if you have had bad sessions, which does happen, be very honest about evaluating those sessions. So don't kind of put off thinking about that session. Just be very honest straight away and just have a conversation with somebody, or jot down some notes and really kind of attack that and look at how you're going to go back in. And just be professional at all times. So you, as dancers and as creative people, you have a massive amount of transferable skills, which it's important to be aware of these when you're going for jobs and applying for jobs, even if they're not in the dance sector. So let's see, so creativity, people get paid a lot of money to be creative, and we're doing it every day. So, and your practical skills, you'll probably be a very good communicator and a professional, because I think we're a hugely professional discipline, and hopefully have good presentations, performance skills, be a multitasker, and you'll be used to working under pressure. There are many more there, but that just gives you an idea. So some of the advantages that I found being a practitioner, and these are not to be underestimated. Being your own boss, it can be absolutely wonderful. If that's something that suits your personality, I've just found it really, really liberating to be my own boss. It's hugely creative, varied. It means that you're actually moving for your job. And think of all the people that sit at desks and offices for their work. And we're very much dealing with real life experiences every day. And you can carve it according to your own individual interests. So that's just a bit of a summary there. But these are also not to be underestimated. So being a practitioner and being a freelance practitioner does require you to be very independent, and it can mean that you're doing quite a lot of isolated work. It may not be consistent, as I've said, and it may not be the most financially secure option. So just to complete the second part of this presentation then, I just thought it might be interesting for you to hear about my own journey, just by way of example, really. So I did, my first degree was at University of Surrey, and at University of Surrey in Guildford they offer the option for people to do a sandwich course. So if that is an option, I would strongly recommend that you consider it. So it was a 4-year course, and in the 3rd year we went out into industry, and that single year in industry just gave such a firm foundation for lots and lots of opportunities afterwards. So it meant that I went straight into quite, what I'd say, high-powered, quite well-paid work initially. So I started off with Ludus Dance Company up in Lancaster as a project manager, and then moved straight across to Preston City Council, working in their arts and cultural development team, programming, and the arts and education department within their theatre. Both of those were maternity cover positions, so that was a good opportunity to build up lots of skills very quickly. Then I came down here to work with Take Art in Somerset on a Dance with Older People project for 3 years, which I led. That was a big lottery funded project. And then this slide I feel could actually be lots and lots of slides here, because I decided that I wanted to completely retrain and become an early years practitioner. So I've now an early years professional, and I have just completed an MA in early years. So that has meant that I'm qualified to also work in another field as well as the dance field. So within that, I'm a practitioner, trainer, mentor, researcher, lecturer, choreographer, and I just want to alert you to some of the agencies that you should be aware of if you're not already. That top left one, Foundation for Community Dance, I'd highly recommend being a member of them. And just to summarise really by saying that trust is just so important in your journey, and just believing really that road to success is always under construction, and start thinking about it now. So I hope that gave you some food for thought. If you want to get in contact with me, my contact details are there, and I've also got a website which is there. Okay.